Okay, so hi, my name's Abner, and for some time I was teaching Chumash in different yeshivas. I am not currently doing that, so I figure at the very least I should keep it up because it's a skill that I have, and perhaps there's people out there that could benefit from being able to learn Chumash in the words properly. What I found is that many rabbis and rebbitzins don't actually know how to translate Chumash exactly as it actually appears on the page because they just kind of learned it by osmosis over time, learning a lot of psukim, a lot of verses. But for somebody like myself, that's about teshuvah, so that doesn't really work. You don't get enough time. You don't grow up with the language that then you could independently translate it unless you're very, very intelligent. On top of that, I believe that when you're able to translate it properly, it brings up a lot of curiosities, and it really helps you to engage in what the Rabbanim were discussing. And it even perhaps can lead you to your own chidushim, your own novelties. So, anyways, if you're somebody that is a beginner to Chumash, you're you're a parent looking for help for your child, this kind of a video would, I'm sure, be extremely helpful. I'll try to post them as like a form of, so to speak, tzedakah for now. And also, if let's say you're about teshuvah, you're someone that's been going to a Chabad house for some time, and you would like to be able to learn Chumash in Lashon HaKodesh, in the language of holiness, the language of Hebrew. This would be a great thing for you. And just in general, if you want a place to learn Chumash with somebody else, you could engage with me. You could ask questions. You could tell me what you think. I don't know. Let's see where this goes. Let's see if someone out in the ether will be able to appreciate and gain something from this form of Chumash. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow with each Pasuk, starting first with giving a very, very clear understanding of how the Pasuk is translated and why. And then sometimes maybe I'll ask my own questions. You're just going to basically see me learning it through the way that I would teach it in a class. So let's go. The first words, Vayishma Yisro Kohen Midyan Chosen Moshe. Okay, so to start first, you got a vav here. You're going to get used to my color patterns. The vav in front is a vav hahipuch. It's a vav that is going to actually change the tense of an action word. So vav means and. When vav is added in front of a word as a prefix, it means and. When it's added in front of a action word, like listen, it's going to switch the tense. So if the tense is in the future, it will become the past. And if the tense is in the past, it will become the future. So you got va, then you have a yud in front of shama. The three-letter shorish here is listen, like Shema Yisrael. So va yi and he, shema, listened. So normally, like let's say that we didn't have this verb here, Yishma would mean he will listen, because there's an added letter in the front, which makes it future tense, right? If you were to say like the added letter is looking towards the action, it's looking forward to the action of listening. So that would be Yishma, would mean he will listen. Okay. When you have the vav in front, instead of being he will listen, it becomes and he listened. Now, when you're learning Lashon HaKodesh, if the noun, if the person or the thing which does the action comes immediately afterwards with nothing interceding between the two, and there are some cases where there could be a word in between, but you can clearly see that the noun is the thing doing the action, that the person is doing the action. So then this he, this yud, which represents he will, or he in the past, when there's a vav in front of it, is this person named Yisro. So you don't read Vayishma Yisro and he listened Yisro. Instead you read and Yisro listened, or and Yisro heard. Okay, so Vayishma Yisro is a phrase that goes together, and Yisro heard. Right off the bat, I'm just going to throw out a question here. There's a vav in front, and Yisro heard. Why do we need the and? Right? Instead, we could say something like Shama Yisro, Yisro heard. Why do we have to have this and there? What is it connecting back to? Okay, so we got Vayishma Yisro, and Yisro heard. Switch this over a little bit. Kohen Midian, that's the next phrase. Kohen Midian. So a Kohen is a spiritual leader. Some people like to translate that as priest, but I don't think that gives the right connotations in the context of Yiddishkeit, because it actually came before the idea of a priest. So the Kohen of a place called Midian. The place is called Midian. Now there's things that you could derive from this word Midian. For example, you have inside of it the word Dayan, which means a judge. But we're not going to jump to any conclusions right now. It's not necessary for this particular circumstance. So Vayishma Yisro, and Yisro heard Kohen Midian, the priest of Midian. Notice I'm adding the and of, Kohen Midian. When there's two nouns in a row in a phrase in Hebrew, it's in Smichut form. What that means is that there are two people, two places, two things in a row. The first of the two words is in the possession of the second. So you say, the Kohen of Midian. Another way that you could say that is Midian's Kohen, Midian's spiritual leader. Either way, the first thing is in the possession of the second. Chosen Moshe. So once again, now normally when we say Chassan, like Chassan and Kala, so Chassan means a groom, but when it's Chosen in Torah, it means the father-in-law of Moshe. So once again, you hear that, the father-in-law of Moshe. So you got Vayishma Yisro, and Yisro heard, Kohen Midian, the spiritual leader of Midian, Chosen Moshe, the father-in-law of Moshe. Ace does not have a translation. Kol Asher, all that. Asa Elokim did. So now Elokim is a name of Hashem. We've changed the hey to a kuf in order to not say Hashem's name. Once again, just like before, Asa Elokim. So Asa means he did. Who is the he? Elokim. Okay, so Asa Elokim, that Elokim did, LeMoshe, for Moshe. A couple of things to note right off the bat. Ace is pointing out who or what an action is being done to. Ace kol asher asa Elokim LeMoshe. So Yisro, the spiritual leader of Midian and the father-in-law of Moshe, heard all that Elokim did for Moshe. So Elokim, the name Elokim represents givura, severity, strictness. And what we're saying is this aspect of Hashem of givura, of severity, strictness, concealment, nature. Hashem has the power of nature. That's what he heard about. He heard all that this power did for Moshe. That God did for Moshe, meaning seemingly severity transformed to kindness. Something that is nature and harsh and seemingly chaotic, all of a sudden is doing a lot of things for a person. Nature is presenting itself as this God which is caring and is specifically showing some sort of favoritism and some sort of presence and miraculous kindness for Moshe, Uli Yisrael Amo. And, the vav in front is an and. Notice how I made it red instead of blue. Le Yisrael, and for Israel. Amo. So Am means nation, like we say Am Yisrael. Then you have a suffix. You have something in the back, Amo, that looks like a man with a yarmulke on his head. So, and for Yisrael, his nation. So if we put it all together, Vayishma Yisro, and Yisro heard, Kohen Midian, the spiritual leader of Midian, Chosen Moshe, the father-in-law of Moshe, is Kol Asher Asa Elokim LeMoshe, all that Elokim did for Moshe, Ul Yisrael Amai, and for Yisrael his nation. Ki, because Hotzi Hashem. So Hotzi is its shorish, its root is actually Yud Tzadik Aleph, but here it's in the causative form. So Yud Tzadik Aleph, Yatza means go out. Hotzi means cause to go out, which is like saying bring forth, brought out. So Ki Hotzi Hashem, because Hashem brought out Es Yisrael Mimitzrayim, Israel from Egypt. Mem in front is from. Ki hoitzi Hashem. I guess we could change. Here, let's make this clear that it's in the causative form. We'll give it a color. We'll give it purple. Just so you can see that it's different than the normal form that we're looking at here, which is in light blue. Ki hoitzi Hashem, because, or that, or when Hashem brought out Yisrael Mitzrayim from Egypt. So let's go through the Pasuk one more time. Vayishma Yisro koyin Midyan, chosin Moshe, and Yisro heard the spiritual leader of Midian, the father-in-law of Moshe, is kol asher asa Elokim leMoshe. All that Elokim did for Moshe, u'Yisrael Amai, and for Yisrael his nation. Ki hoitzi Hashem, because Hashem brought out Es Yisrael, Israel, Mitzrayim, from Egypt. So let's now take a look down here. By the way, these are the worksheets that I used to make, and I would suggest if you would like to really practice, pause it and read it 5 times. And then also, once you've read it 5 times, once we go through how to translate the whole thing clearly, to practice it 15 more times until it's read totally fluently. So, Vayishma Yisro. Okay, we're going to have to, I should have done this beforehand. You know what? I'm going to pause it, and then I'll come back. Okay, back at it. You can see I filled it in now. So Shama means he heard, because it's the past tense. It's 3 letters. Past tense, Shama, he heard. Chosen is father-in-law. You know what? I'll take little pauses in between each thing. Ace, what does it mean? Nothing. But what does it? It doesn't mean nothing, obviously. It's there for a reason. It could mean with, but here it's pointing to what an action is done to, or who an action is done to. Kol can mean all or every. Asher, that. Asa, again, past tense, he did or he made. Am is a nation. Ki can be a number of different things, because that, when, you got to just figure it out in context. Yatsa, he left, exited, went out. Mitzrayim is Egypt. Can also mean Meitzar, Yam. Constrictions, it can mean multiple constrictions. It could also mean a constriction of the sea. A lot of different ways to look at this word. It's a really beautiful word with many different lessons from it. But now let's take a look at the phrases. Shama is he heard. So Vayishma Yisro, as we explained before, and Yisro. You could do this really as, and Yisro, the Kohen of Midian, heard. The truth is, this whole phrase really could go together. Chosin Moshe, the father-in-law of Moshe. You know, that really would, the best way to do this actually would be to put the whole phrase together. And Yisro, the Kohen of Midian, the father-in-law of Moshe, heard. That's the best way to put this phrase together. Eis kol asher, all that. Kol asher, all that. Asa Elokim leMoshe, Elokim did for Moshe. Now, just so you can know, this lamed could mean 2 or 4. All that Elokim did to Moshe, or all that Elokim did for Moshe. But in this context, I think the better way to say it is for, because it was something that was being done for Moshe's benefit, not just to him. Well, Yisrael Amai, and for Yisrael, or Israel, his nation. Ki hoitzi Hashem, because Hashem brought out. Again, you could say like caused to bring out. We should make this also purple. Is it purple? No. Oh, it is. Ki hoitzi Hashem, because Hashem brought out. Or sorry, no. Here the context, right? We said it could be a number of things. The key. Yisrael's nation. Maybe that. Hashem brought out Yisrael, Israel, from Egypt. We could do this a little bit more helpfully. That was not good English. Apologize. So notice here the Kohen of, right? So that's Smichut form. What was my color for Smichut form? I believe this. The coin of Midian, just to kind of point that out for you. The father-in-law of Moshe. That's again because you've got these two nouns in a row. Choyin Midian, Chosin Moshe. Le Moshe, for Moshe. L'Yisrael, and for Israel. Anyways, I'm just kind of pointing this out for you in order to help you if you're just getting used to this, so that you can notice that these colors are purposeful. Okay, so now I think it would make sense for you to go down after you practiced it a number of times and you feel really confident with the Pasuk. You could read it as if it's your first language, you really understand it. I would suggest now that you take a look at the Pasuk and ask at least 5 questions on it. If you could put your questions in the comments, that would be really cool. If I could actually see that someone's actually giving this a try. Here, we could end like this. One second. I actually liked it bigger. Hope you enjoy watching me play with this. Okay. Right. I would love to see your questions. I already asked one on the Vav, and I'm going to give this I'm going to give you guys the time. You should pause it, and I will put my questions in just a second. So as my students know, I do ask a lot of questions. And I'm not sure if I even want to present them here, because I'd like to see your guys' questions first. Maybe I'll write in the comments my questions just like you. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm wishing everyone a wonderful, wonderful day. And I hope, Bezras Hashem, that someone will be able to gain something from this.